Welcome to the Howell Business Beat, where we delve deep into the dynamic world of entrepreneurship, innovation, workforce talent, economic development, and so much more, bringing you the latest insights and strategies to thrive in today's competitive business landscape. I'm Janelle Smith, president of the Howell Area Chamber of Commerce, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Dianne Samples. Welcome, Dianne.
Hi, I'm excited to be here today.
Well, we have a great guest on tap today.
Sure do.
Dianne and I actually had the pleasure of seeing this one in person. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Cindy Bjorkquist, Director of Wellbeing at Blue Cross Blue Shield. Welcome, Cindy.
Well, thank you. How are you guys doing? And you said my name perfectly.
Oh, thank goodness. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We're doing great today. We're excited to engage in a conversation around well-being. But before we do that, I want to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself and just share with us a little bit about who you are, your background, and what you do at Blue Cross.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. My name is Cindy Bjorkquist. I'm the Director of Wellbeing at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. And my journey on what I'm doing and how I got here, I'd have to say that I got here because I was an athlete who spent a lot of time out in nature. Let's just put it that way. Growing up on a 7-acre farm, spent a lot of time in the woods. I got my first chainsaw when I was 16, right? I love trees. You put all that together and the health thing just kind of caught my attention, helping people be healthy. How do you help people understand mind and body connection and all of that? So fast forward to grad school, I'm an actual exercise physiologist by trade, got a lot of biology background too, and went through and had a variety of different jobs, worked in a hospital, started a nonprofit, worked in education, taught in colleges, landed in a health plan of all places, trying to help now with the best job ever, I feel, help millions of people understand how to live their best life. Let's just put it that way. You know, how do you thrive in your life? What's the secret sauce? How can you help yourself in this life journey? Be the best person that you can be for yourself, but then also for the people around you as well.
Awesome. So a passion of yours that evolved into a very interesting career.
Yeah, exactly. I've always been in different positions of trying to help people with their health or their life journey. And I just kind of landed here. So I take all the exercise physiology, take all the biology, take all of the mental health training that I have and smashed it all together. And I'm the Director of Wellbeing now. And I have the gift of gab. So the job I have
Supports that.
gets me to talk to people every day, which I just love to do.
I might have that gift too. So
I think you guys do. Both of you do. Absolutely.
Well, that is fantastic. And I also wanted to share that. So Dianne and I, we went to the Michigan Association of Chamber Professionals conference last year in the fall, and our conference and our program committee put together a session and a conference really related around well-being and burnout. And I think that as we look at, our workforce today, the employment landscape, and all of these other factors for us specifically, like the chamber industry, that was relative to the discussion at the Michigan Association of Chamber Professionals Conference of burnout and what people are experiencing, how to avoid burnout, and just general mental health. And so we had the opportunity to see you there, and what you shared with us really resonated. And so we're really excited to be here today to continue to carry on that conversation and just talk a little bit about what you're seeing in your field as far as burnout goes and how it's related to mental health.
Yeah. You remember the bear in the woods story, right?
That was great.
The whole energy was amazing. I mean, we were not expecting that. Energy in person, and it was.
But you're so kind. You're so kind. The thing about the topic of burnout, I mean, burnout's been out there for a very long time. We used to call it in the 80s stress management, right? I mean, I've been doing this for like 40 years. So it was stress management and handle your stress and everything. But this idea of the sense of burnout, looking at it a little bit differently, I really feel that people should feel that they don't wait until you get into a burnout situation, because then you have to put all these things into place to try to get yourself back out of burnout. So what I try to do is to help people understand what are things that you can do in your everyday life to avoid the burnout in the first place. And that's that bear in the woods story. And the bear in the woods story is that because our lives are so busy today, especially if you're, working at a job, or you're working at home, or you're a stay-at-home mom, or you're juggling both things, whatever your situation in life is, that you get to a point where the bear in the woods is something that makes your amygdala. I don't know if you guys remember, but remember the amygdala in your brain? That amygdala will fire and go, bear in the woods, you're in danger, and you're in danger. Your whole body systems start to react and put you into what most people think fight or flight. Blood pressure goes up, heart rate goes up. All these things happen in your body. You want your body to do that if there's a bear in the woods, or if you're in a car accident, or the things that traumatically happen in your life, your body protects you. But in today's society, when you're on your way to burnout, your body thinks that regular everyday things that happen to you, everyday stressors, make you think it's a bear in the woods, and that it's called the amygdala hijack. Your brain starts to hijack your body and go, bear in the woods, bear in the woods. When your boss might come to you and say, you know what, that project isn't really up to snuff of what I was looking for. Or your significant other may come to you and you may have a conflictive conversation. You have to figure out what those triggers are in your life. And once you figure out what those triggers are, you can dampen the amygdala to calm down your body, to say, it's not the bear in the woods situation. That's not a huge stressful thing, that I should be responding like a bear in the woods. I just need to put in different techniques to help me be mindful, be present, all the buzzwords that you hear in well-being. That leads people to say, how can I train myself, so I don't get out to burnout? I'm not on that road, but I got to stop myself from going down the road to burnout. Those are all the things that you can do, which really are not that hard sometimes. Spending time in nature. There is so much research on the value of getting out into nature. So get yourself out into nature and try to get yourself a walk or a jog or a bike ride. Practice mindfulness. The value of, I don't know about your parents, but my parents used to tell me, Cindy, just take a deep breath. The value of taking the deep breath, the value of mindfulness, being present in the moment. There's this thing called Nixon, which is called a brain break. It comes over from other parts of the world. And when you do Nixon, you allow yourself to do something with no purpose. And what that means is you're sipping I don't know what you have in that. Could be coffee, could be water.
It's mushroom coffee.
Mushroom coffee. I just had that conversation with someone the other day about that. But you're sipping your mushroom coffee on your front porch. And you're allowing yourself to do something, but you don't have a purpose. That's called Nixon. It's called a brain break. Can you give yourself little brain breaks during the day or during the week? When's the last time you actually had joy in your life? And it's amazing when I'm a keynote speaker or a present or do a presentation like you all saw me, and I ask people to think about the last time you experienced joy in your life and when was it? And some people can't remember. And that's really sad, because we know the research behind joy and what that does, and happiness and laughter. So there's things that you can do in your life that if you find yourself on the way to burnout and you're finding that you're reacting to people rather than responding, which is a whole show I've done on that topic. When somebody comes at you or you have conflict and you're reacting back at them, not responding, then, you're on your way to burnout. That's the time that you can kind of implement all these different techniques. So it's about helping people understand what they can do to avoid burnout in the first place.
Yeah, I think that's definitely key. I think it's hard to get out of once you're there.
Yeah,
for sure.
And it's funny because the deep breathing, I always tell my son that, and there's so many deep, heavy sighs around our house. It's almost comical.
That's okay.
Right,
That's okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Because it's emotion, and he's processing that emotion. And we all are. I mean, we're all deep breathers. But then
it's called sigh breathing. Yeah, it's actually in the literature. It's called sigh breathing, and it's very healthy for you.
Yeah, but it's like my husband and I will go back and forth and be like, what's wrong? What's going on? So it's kind of like we are also very aware of it, but and moments of joy, I think that's really key too. But if you take the time to think about it, and I don't know, Dianne, if like what you could think of like your last moment of joy, but I was thinking this morning I got to share this because it's just too cute. I dropped my daughter off at daycare. She's 2. My son is 7, and he goes in with us every day. And we're leaving today, and she went right up to him and she wrapped her arms around him and gave him a big hug and said, "Bye-bye, no." And his name's Noah. And she's like, "Kisses?" And he did not want to give her a kiss. So I said, "Can you just blow her? Can you just blow kisses, baby?" But it was such a great moment of joy. I love it.
Well, my last moment of joy was actually last night when I got home, and we had the event last night, the Applause Awards. So I got home and I wasn't able to see my little granddaughter. So I am very fortunate because I do see her at least every couple days. I try to see her every day. But so my daughter FaceTimed me, and she pops up on her screen and she just smiles. It's like she recognizes your voice. And then, of course, she's into the phone. So she hung up on me, but not intentionally. But it's just that smile, that recognition when she hears your voice. And that just, that just melts my heart. So that was my last moment of joy. I shouldn't say my last moment of joy, but it was one, yes.
What, you mean this morning hanging out together?
I was going to say, watching Brad's interview this morning, that was joy.
What's interesting about both of your stories is that both of your stories are talking about connectedness. And one of the number one risk factors for mortality, is over and over in the research, is that if you're socially isolated and how that affects your well-being. So it's interesting that both of your joy stories had people connecting to other people. And that in itself brings a tremendous amount of physiological adaptations in your body that map to be a very healthy relationship. So connectiveness should be something that we all talk about every day and try to experience. And all too often that leads you right down to that joy path as well.
Oh, that is interesting.
It is interesting. I love the fact too of allowing yourself or giving yourself permission to do nothing. I think that's hard for a lot of people.
It is hard.
It's hard for me you feel guilty. You're like, oh, you're just sitting here doing nothing. Like you feel like you should be doing something, but not doing anything is doing something. It's very important. It's important to your well-being.
I remember that. I'm going to pull this up and show you this one day. Maybe we'll show it to each other because I know I have the same problem. But
well, I just think we've been trained that, we're just getting this mode of, like you said, we don't like to use the word busy anymore because it has no meaning anymore because everybody's busy. We all know that. So why do we have to say it?
I know I'm listening to Brene Brown right now, Dare to Lead, and I've listened to it before, but she talks about this in particular and how people, you just have a hard time like taking a break.
Right.
So I want to lead into one of our next topics that we wanted to touch on today, because what you do, Cindy, is something really cool, virtual well-being. So I would like you to share a little bit about what this is, because you've talked about some really just great techniques, even as we're just been chatting for a few minutes here about what you can do in kind of your everyday, but what is virtual well-being?
Yeah, thank you. So in January 2019, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan allowed me the pleasure of developing what's called virtual well-being. And it was a way that we could have kind of a conversation like this with people, science-based conversations every single week. And so it's virtual and it's kind of like a podcast, but we use GoToWebinar so you can see our faces. I have a co-host with me that runs kind of all the engineering and does the registration. And we have this candid conversation back and forth. But for 30 minutes every single week on a Tuesday, I boot up the show, people dial in, and I talk to employers about a different topic every week that they could deploy in their work site for their employees to improve their well-being. Every single week, a different show. Then we have downloadable content. They can download it, the PowerPoint, they can take and they can run with it and use all that stuff free of charge into their work site. And any employer can come in. We're viewed in right now, I think 76 countries. You don't have to have Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan You don't have to be in the United States. So it's pretty cool that we've got all different kind of perspectives of people on there. But there's a live chat. But we talk about resilience. We talk about the value of the CDC recommendations on physical activity. We talk about radical acceptance of yourself, external validation, like really anything you can think of that would affect your overall well-being. We take the same topic and we actually do it on Thursday at noon live for 30 minutes Eastern time. And we talk to people. And I say people because employers that come on Tuesday will take the link to the Thursday public landing page and they'll send their employees so they get to hear the topic. Or we have thousands of people from around the world that just come in to listen every single week and they're not attached with an employer at all. But again, it's like a way to do, and I told you about my journey. It's a way that I get to talk to people about science-based research of anything that could affect their well-being every single week. And like to give you an example, this week we're talking about this sit-stand test. I don't know if both of you know, the Okinawans sit a lot, right? They get up and they sit down, they move every 20 minutes. I'm watching Shogun right now. And if you're watching Shogun, the series on Hulu, you can actually see people sitting on the floor all the time. Well, there's actually a sit-stand test where it's linked to longevity, if you can get down and stand back up without using your hands. So we presented the research this week, and then we had to talk to people in a way that they will understand it, but also in a very engaging way. So it's this phenomenal way to spread the word to people, and they kind of attach themselves to different concepts that we have. But every single week, it's a different topic. So those are shows, kind of like what we're doing today. And then on Wednesdays, we have meditations. And so it would be a voiceover to a video about a meditation ranging from 2 minutes to 20 minutes, a different type of meditation every week. That's the kind of tools that you can use when you're on your way to burnout that we talked about earlier, using the meditations, using the mindfulness, using those topics on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So you realize if you start to get short with your family or friends or your coworkers and you're like, hey, I think I'm on that road to burnout. I got to start either breathing or, experiencing joy or doing Nixon, or start to think through how I'm reacting. Why am I reacting that way? So much of this involves your brain. And there's well-documented research that you can remap or rewire your brain out of this stressful situation or out of reacting very quickly into a healthier spot by journaling, gratitude, joy, all those things. So we explain all of that every single week. And then everything is stored on demand. So people will go back after the live show and then watch on demand as well. So it's a dream job.
It sounds like it. Seriously.
Yeah.
So on your shows, did you do the sit stand?
So Marissa, my co-host, can do the sit stand. Yes, 100%. She got 10 points. Now, no.
I'm gonna start practicing. We are gonna. And
I have to acknowledge that on the show I talked about that I pinched my sciatic lifting something very heavy, which I should not have last summer. So my PT guy said, "Don't you dare do anything to compromise your lower back for the next year." So I used my hand to get up, and so for me, I lose 1 point. I go from 10 points to 9 because I used my hand to get up. And then in the research, they say, 8.7, 8.3 points, is correlated with, longer life expectancy and stroke risk and stuff. So I'm still okay. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. And the show wasn't about just saying, try this sit stand test. It's about people understanding that if you change your environment, a lot of these concepts, like now I have it here because I'm doing a show tomorrow. This thing that I showed on air is what I sit on to watch TV if I do watch TV, because, that puts me in a sitting position. So I'm getting posture and all the things, stretching, flexibility, strength. I have to stand up from that. Those are all things that you can incorporate in your environment to live a healthier life.
I love that. That's awesome. With little kids,
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time on the floor, just
Yeah.
sitting on the floor.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of a pillow. That's luxury.
That's right.
Well, that is very cool. I want to ask too, real quick, before I forget, is there a link that we can share out or put in the show notes that you could send me so we could provide people an opportunity to sign up for the virtual wellbeing?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. It's a public landing page, and it's a Blue Cross virtualwellbeing.com. And when you come into that public landing page, you'll see an employer section and then a member section. And then on the very top is the statement that they're open to the public. And so if you want to watch the show as an employer, hey, I need a concept that I want to roll out to my employees to improve their well-being. That's the employer side. And then the member side, open to the public as well, is the side where we just talk a little bit differently. We deliver the content to a person as opposed to an employer. Yeah.
Awesome. No, that's wonderful. So we'll get those in the show notes. And then before we wrap up today, I just want to share some exciting news and I hope that everybody listening has enjoyed our conversation today. And I wish we could keep going, but we do have and have invited Cindy to be one of our panelists for our Sparkle and Strive event, our women's event in October. And she is going to be focusing on the spirit side of mind, body. So she'll have that focus on spirit. So we look forward to that. That is coming up on October 10th. All right. Awesome. Cindy, did you have anything else that you wanted to add before we wrap up today?
No, I thank you for the opportunity to talk to the people watching. And again, if you're interested, bluecrossvirtualwellbeing.com. I'm the ever promoter of the show because again, it's all about helping improve their life to live their best life. That's really the umbrella term. So thank you both very much. And I'm looking forward to having people on the show. And you can live chat into me. So please introduce yourself and say hi if you're ever on my show, and we'll be able to talk back to you as well. But I hope everybody learned a little nugget about well-being today.
Oh, I think you shared. Yes, very engaging and very practical uses that everybody can kind of just, like you said, just implement slowly into your day-to-day life.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much again for joining us, Cindy. We look forward to seeing you on Virtual Wellbeing and in October.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye, Cindy.
Today's episode has been brought to you by our generous sponsors, Bob Maxey Ford and Pepsi. Thank you so much for sponsoring this episode of the Howell Business Beat.